What is an animal fact that not everyone knows but they should? Hedgehogs are known as the gardener's friend. This is because they will eat slugs, beetles, caterpillars, etc., and do no harm, only good. Also, adorable. They also like to chew and rub it all over themselves. So cute and kinky. When a hedgehog encounters a new smell, it will bite and lick the source of the smell to form a white foam in its mouth with the smell and then proceeds to smear it on its quills. This behavior is called self-anointing. No one is really sure why they do it though. Some people say that it's to make their quills more irritating to the tough, and others say it's to hide their own smell. Hedgehogs are such creeps. Goldfish should not be kept in little bowls. They produce a huge amount of waste for their size, and so they need a very powerful filtration system. Monsieur. Pet shop workers will tell you they grow to fit the size of their tank. This is not true. If the tank isn't big enough for them, they die young. With enough space and decent filtration, a goldfish can live for decades. All the rubbish you hear in some pet shops is just because they know they'll sell a lot less fish. If you actually knew what it takes to look after them, monsieur. To add to this, better fish don't belong in bowls either. There's a horrible misconception that they get stressed out by large tanks, but they only get stressed when they were super exposed. They are more than happy a large tank so long as there's plenty of hiding spaces and plants. Also, they do not live in puddles in the wild. They are native to Vietnam, where they live in very long, but shallow rice paddies. Speaking of their native habitat, they come from warm waters, so they need a tank that is around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Betters need 5-gallon tanks, heated and filtered. Edit. I'm so glad to see this has taken off. It's something I am quite passionate about, taking the opportunity to plug our Better Fish, which is a wonderful community and an excellent resource for those interested in betters. Pigeons, crows, and ravens can recognize humans and remember faces. They also have been observed holding a grudge against humans that were mean to them. Monsieur. Crows can even tell their offspring specifically about details about PPL they have a grudge on or find dangerous. There was a huge experiment documentation about this. There are a few crows that hang out where I'm at. My uncle likes to mess with them and chucks rocks in their direction to scare them. Monsieur. They would fly away when they saw me as well, because I guess all agents look the same. They've quickly recognized that he won't actually hit them with the rocks, so they just kind of sit there and talk now. Cows have best friends and panic when separated from them. Monsieur. I would watch a cartoon called Cow Best Friends. Cow and chicken. The fingerprints of a koala are so indistinguishable from humans that they have on occasion been confused at a crime scene, waiting for an evil koala as a Disney movie villain. Also, if anyone from Disney is reading this and goes ahead with this, I will take 5% of total sales as commission. Thanks. This is actually the basis for the script I wrote last year. It's about a team of elite FBI agents engaged in a manhunt for high society art thief, but she uses a trained koala to steal the priceless art and confuse investigators with the multitude of koala fingerprints left at each crime scene. The twist comes when it's revealed that the thief and the koala are identical twins and have the same fingerprints. I call it Collar That Koala, starring the Baldwin brothers as the FBI agents, Juliette Lewis as the thief, and Wiley Wiggins as the koala. Directed by Michael Bay. Long story short, I shopped it around Hollywood for a while, and did blow in a Shoney's bathroom stall with Calvin Bacon, but it never really picked up any traction. Probably just bad timing, since all the big studios are focusing on Bollywood remakes and nobody is looking for a heist caper movie right now. Username doesn't check out. I'd go see that movie. That rabbits can scream, but they only do it when they feel they're going to die. Also, it's one of the worst sounds you will ever hear in your life. As a kid in the backwoods of Montana, I would sleep on my trampoline all summer long, until I heard a rabbit get snagged by a bird in the middle of the night. Imagine that howl starting near you and flying off into the sky in the middle of the night. I only myself a lot. When jaguars pick a victim, they can stalk them for days, weeks, even this includes humans. They even use social media and follow people to work. Sneaky those jags. I think those are thirsty cougars. Giraffes have a special place where the blood can pool in their neck, so that leaning down and drinking water does not make them lose consciousness from all that neck blood. Despite this amazing thing, drinking is still very awkward for the giraffe, and leaves them very vulnerable, so it's still quite dangerous. There's a desert beetle that's body naturally pulls water from air and stores it in its shell. Cool. Got a link. Bear can outrun a horse. If you see a mountain lion, it has already decided not to eat you. If you're camping and you hear an animal moving around, it's probably a skunk or a beaver or a porcupine. Bears, moose, and other large animals are surprisingly sneaky. Let me tell ya, after living in the Blue Ridge Mountains in eastern NC for a few years, bears are not only eerily fast and surprisingly quiet, but on average less aggressive than the average raccoon and much prefer the booking it method of confrontation. They only get bold if they're getting fed. It's like big versus little dogs. The little ones are usually far more aggressive, either poor training, or they feel more threatened because they feel small. If you blink at a cat, you're showing that you pose no threat and that it can trust you. Specifically to blink slowly, I believe. Kinda scrunch your eyes more than usual too. The buckspur spider in the Namib Desert preys on ants by hiding in the sand and grasping one limb of a passing ant. It pins the ant to the hot desert sand until it cooks to death. And GT. Buckspur spider in the Namib Desert, and from Wikipedia this is even more striking. Their distribution is patchy, but when forming conspecific aggregations, their webs may even touch one another. Such clusters may contain thousands of females, with a density of 50 meters -2, or locally, 100 to 200 meters -2. You'd be literally walking on sand with thousands of spiders underneath. Nope, nope, nope. Tilde tilde visit the Namib Desert. Tilde tilde something else struck off my bucket list. I heard once biologists believed giraffes couldn't make sound at all for a long time. Eventually, they were found to be able to make some sounds, but their vocal cords are so weak it's just about impossible to hear it unless you get lucky. This fact brought to you by my fallible memory. Now I feel honored. I fed a giraffe over the summer and it grunted at me for more lettuce. It is very rare for an opossum to have rabies due to their body heat. They are also integral to maintaining the tick population. Opossums are friends, not foes. Also, their bite force is pretty weak as they usually eat just insects and stuff. And they bluff a lot. They act like they are gonna snap and bite, but most times you could legit put your hand in their mouth and they'd continue to bluff but not bite you. Don't do this though, because you never know the individual animal, but just know they aren't likely to bite. Young opossums are much more likely to bite. Adult opossums are all bark. They're more likely to hiss them before they bite you. My friend's dog cornered a opossum in his yard. This little dude was so scared. My friend's dog is a great dog, but he was taken away from the opossum this year. Everyone was freaking out. I used a stick to pull its tail out from underneath its body, grabbed the tail and walked it outside the fence to a neighboring group of trees. Easy peasy. It amazed people. Lol, I didn't do this willy-nilly either. I do have a lot of experience rehabbing opossums just in case anyone was concerned. Just because the owner says it's okay to be pet the dog doesn't mean the dog feels like being petted at that moment. You should always ask the dog first by putting your hand out for them to sniff it. Sometimes, however, the dog will look at you like you're an idiot. In this case, just go ahead and pet the dog, lol. I do the same with cats. I don't know. Let them smell and headbutt first before giving a scritch. I know familiar cats' behavior to know whether or not they want snuggles. Stray cats hate when I headbutt them, monsieur. A cat's purring is actually therapeutic for humans. It can even help lower the chances of heart attack. My inbox is reading like I subscribe to daily cat facts. Keep the stories coming though, I love it. Cat purring is achieved by the same bone that a lion used for roaring. A lion's roaring is not therapeutic for humans. It may even help increase the chances of heart attack. Sharks have been around since before trees. Okapis are rare and reclusive in the wild, so for a long time were thought to be mythical creatures, like unicorns or dragons, because they were almost never seen. They appear frequently in the logos of old mythical creature organizations. Snakes don't hear, but feel vibration instead. If trying to warn a snake of your presence, you should stomp your feet instead of speaking like you would around a mammal in the wild. Snakes also don't have eyelids like we do, so it can be very hard to tell if they are asleep. It is better to interact with a snake using a strike guard to avoid startling a sleeping snake and getting bit. Edit. More fun animal facts. Hyena females have non-functional male genitalia. I honestly don't know if people know why. Female hyenas are also larger and bolder as adults, so it's not super hard to determine gender. Hyena is white because they eat bones and need to get rid of excess calcium. They have some of the strongest jaws and teeth in animals, which can make nursing pups very difficult. All primates except lemurs have specialized eyeballs that are made for recognizing the shape of a snake almost instantaneously. Lemurs lack this specialization because there are no native snakes in Madagascar. Horse and goat pupils. Why no, those weird rectangle-shaped ones? A rectangle rather than circular to give the prey animal a panoramic view of their surroundings, and their eyeballs rotate so when they put their head down to graze, their pupils are still parallel to the horizon. They're in sage mode. You don't actually eat up to 8 spiders a year in your sleep. That was a myth created to show how easily people believe in myths. Source: correct. You do not swallow 8 spiders in your sleep per year. It is actually up to 8 copies of Shrek the Third on DVD. So that's where my collection went. Frogs breathe through their skin. They also don't have working throats. They use their eye muscles to force things down into their stomach. They also eat their own shed by slowly pushing it from the back and into their mouths. If you see a frog yawning, it's likely eating its dead skin. Mantids do in fact eat the head of the male mate, but only to ensure that the female has adequate nutrition through her pregnancy. Deer can hiss. Had to restrain deer for a field study of deer populations. Have no history with hunting and was not prepared to be hissed at. Was creepy. A few things. Rabbits shouldn't be kept in hutches. They're hyper-social pets and need to be around you and have space to roam. They can be litter-trained, like cats. They also have a lifespan of 7 to 12 years and come with Hexy vet bills. In Australia, you can't get pet insurance as they're considered a luxury pet. We got a house rabbit by accident. We adopted a rabbit which had been living in a hutch and brought him home with a new hutch and everything. But we had a car spray painted, and because of the fumes we brought him into the house temporarily. Well, he was such a stubborn that when he went back in his hutch he'd thump all evening, making his feelings known. So back in the house he came. After him I could never keep a rabbit outside again. A few things we learned. They can use a litter box like you say. He learned to use our cat flaps, so he came and went when he pleased. We never worked out exactly where he slept, but think it was in the garden in the summer and in our utility room under all the bikes in the winter. He liked really smelly things. When my dad would take his shoes off, he'd stick his head in and have a good sniff. If you were eating something he liked, he'd climb all over you to get it. Mainly grapes, but he also liked the smell of wine and would try and stick his head in your glass. Talking of scent, if you went away for a while, when you came back he'd insist you sit there while he rubbed his chin all over you, putting his scent back on you because you belonged to him. When rabbits love each other, they run around each other in circles, which is really sweet, but they're incredibly quiet, so often you wouldn't know he was doing it, and if you were walking you'd accidentally kick him across the room. They do little grunts where they love you too. They love cuddles. The best animal to get if you just want a big cuddle. He'd lay across your chest with his head on your shoulder, grunting away for hours. Male rabbits have harems and we were all in it. Me, my sister, dad and mum, cat and dog. He'd always lie in the middle of the living room where he could see us all, occasionally alerting us with a thump to some unknown danger and then settling back down again. They hate being alone. He'd take ages to eat his food cause he'd take a bite, then run back to wherever we were to eat it, then run back for more. As we had a dog who just wanted to clear his bowl and would be moany, we used to feed him with the cat. He'd still take a bite and then stick his head in the cat's bowl to be near her, but at least he finished in a reasonable time. If you have a fireplace and forget to clear the ashes out, they will get in there and dig like a, spreading them all over your carpet and themselves. Edit. This period of time was like living in a Disney movie cause all the animals loved each other. They'd give each other nose bump greetings and the cat would wash the rabbit. I'd have to tell them to stop, they were being so ridiculously cute. They'd also play chasing each other around, and when they had the sillies